You ready? All right, I'll go ahead and call us to order this afternoon. I am Shane Smith. I'd like to ask each of my fellow commission members to introduce themselves for the record, please. Starting with Sean.
I am Sean Johnson.
Thanks, Sean.
Riley Johnson.
Kevin Evans, Anon Johnson.
All right. And I see we've got a couple guests here. If you all would introduce yourselves, tell us who you're with.
I'm Curtis Brock with Farm Center.
Stan Gibson with the Farm Center. Luther Lyle, Youth Unit Cherokee in South Carolina.
Outstanding, thank you. All right, I know we have a copy of the previous minutes in our packet. I hope everybody's had a chance to review those. Assuming you have, or when you have, we'll accept a motion to approve those or make any corrections.
I'll make a motion that we accept them as written.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Mr. Phil, I will turn it over to you at this point in time to continue.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In your packet, you have a treasurer's report. Should be the page behind the minutes there. It breaks down for you the local aid tax and the state aid tax dollars. And just so you'll see the balance of where we are today, you can see all the encumbered items in there. Our local aid tax continues to be a great resource for us this year. It continues to grow, which is a good thing. And so our due diligence has paid off and allowed us to accomplish a number of things, both internally and through the grant process. So local aid tax, your balance, your available balance today is $403,405, $403,405. And then your state aid tax balance, which we don't typically touch in here, is $184,000. You approve it annually. Most of that goes to the operation of Visit Oconee. As we get to a couple of our bigger projects, like the Seneca Creek project, I'm letting that build up a little bit, and we'll pull some out of there as well to supplement that Seneca Creek project. So, any questions on the treasurer's report that you have in front of you? You can see all the encumbered items on there and the amount of things we've been able to accomplish that normally we would have been fighting for those to fit in the general fund budget. So it's been a big help to us. If there's no questions on that, we'll take off into the grant review. This cycle, we've got 10 grants. We have the very last page of all that paper is something for you to jot on and bring back. It's the spreadsheet that I typically put together at the second meeting, but it'll allow you to do some jotting and prepping whenever you, do you have, it's all right. Do you have a packet of paper over there?
Yeah, I got some stuff.
Yeah, but is it the right
No,
stuff?
it should be what's over here,
I'm
Sean.
confused.
Oh, I can slide over there.
I got it.
No, you're good.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Nope, no worries. But that's just a paper for you to keep up with as we go along. We have 10 grants this cycle. Those 10 grants total
How are you? Good.
$82,545. We have $77,059 that are eligible for ATAX funding. So after I go through and look at some things that not quite fit the ATAX guidelines, there's $77,000 in there. For the second cycle in a row, we're gonna push $50,000 for our grant cycle. So you've got up to $50,000 to work with through this grant process. Does that make sense? And that'll be for these 10 grants. That does not include the internal PRT stuff. That's just for the external grants. So we will get started and work our way through. Here's a list of all those grants that you should have had a chance to review a little bit. And we'll start with City of Seneca Half Marathon. This is advertising with WSPA TV. This is a big event for the city. 500 plus participants. Over 60% of them are tourists to the town. And you can see their total event budget and how much they're eligible for. I've also included the previous 2 years of funding to the city. So $10,000 request, and they are eligible for the whole 10,000. Seneca Half Marathon. Any questions on the City of Seneca Half Marathon request?
Not a question on the request, but just kind of refresh my memory. They did not have the spring event last year because of COVID, is that?
They did not have the Seneca Fest.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
Seneca Fest. And then
two
the
different-
half marathon last year was pushed back to another date, if I remember right.
Okay.
I was there for that, but how did that, the attendance seemed really good, but I don't know how it was in comparison, do you know?
Which, the half
The half
marathon?
marathon of 5K and
I'll
all?
let Riley
We
answer
were,
that.
we were.
It was a pretty good
about-
crowd.
Yeah, it was a little bit less, I mean, some no-shows, but at the end of the day, the registrations were still where they were.
Good.
You know,
They were, 2 years ago, they had 700, I believe, and they
Yeah.
had over 500 for this past year, so
Right.
it didn't drop as much as you thought it would during the COVID year. And I would expect it to pick back up.
yeah.
Any questions on half marathon? All right, I'll move on to the next one. Devil's Fork State Park, tent pad rehabilitation. They're asking for $7,775 and 19 cents. Put that on there. But you can see the total project budget. This particular grant will rebuild a number of tent pad sites throughout the campground. Incredible visitation through the park, to over 200,000, 230,000, 2020. And of the 9,100 overnight reservations, 85% of those were tourists. So incredible impact there. So when you look at the project budget and the tourism impact, they're eligible for 6609, that number. Any questions on Devil's Fork State Park? Discover Upcountry South Carolina. We have partnered with them a number of years on some advertising. As a refresher, they represent the 6 northwestern counties of the state: Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Cherokee counties. And they do a number of advertising promotions and partnerships through all those different media campaigns. You can see their total marketing budget and their request from Oconee this cycle is $15,000 to assist across those advertising platforms. You can see what we've done in the past 2 years, and they are eligible for the entire $15,000. Any question on Discover Upcountry? Nope. All right. We will go next is the Farm Center. This is an entrance sign to the facility itself. The funds requested were $10,000. And the Farm Center is just now starting a concert series. Of course, they have the Heritage Fair. They didn't have it last year, but typically would have it each year. So the tourism impact is kind of unknown. So we use 40% because that's typically the number we see across the county whenever we do that. So when you look at their total budget of $24,800, they would be eligible for up to 40% of that each year for ATAX. So that happens to fall just under what they're asking for. So they're eligible for up to $9,920 to go towards this sign. And this would be a double lit. You saw if you had a chance to look at the grants, a double lit sign there on 123 into the Farm Center. Any questions? There are Curtis and Stanley's here if there's any questions specifically on that grant. All right, we'll move on. Walhalla Performing Arts Center. This is to assist with the advertising for this year's schedule, as well as some sound and light upgrades. This is a request of $16,000. If you've not been, I encourage you to pick a show and go. There's 80-plus shows that they're doing there. Mark is doing an incredible job pulling in some great talent. Their total advertising budget is $69,600. The total sound and light equipment cost is gonna be about $10,000. Out of all their ticket sales in 2020, 57% of them were for outside Oconee County. So that's incredible draw for that venue. And of course, now you've got some potential lodging that's gonna be right across the street, so it really could do some packages with the old Oconee Inn, if that happens in that old building. So they are eligible for the entire $16,000 based on their total budget and their impact. Any questions on the Walhalla Performing Arts Center? Museum of the Cherokee, Kituwa, did I say that right? Kituwa, I was close. Kituwa Festival, and Earth Day Festival. Their request is $4,250. This is specifically to bring in the authentic folks from Cherokee to come down and participate and do the dance and lead the festival. Last year, they had about 1,500 people come to the festival, and about 1,000 of those were tourists, so it's about 66%. So based on the total project budget and what they're asking for, they're eligible for $3,738. Any questions on the Museum of the Cherokee request? Luther is here and can answer any of those. Okay. Next request is Gateway Arts Council in Westminster. This is a marketing request of $2,500. If you're not familiar with Gateway, Melody's the one that's been doing all the murals around Westminster. And I'll share a little update on what we've been doing to help promote that as I get to the PRT stuff update. And so this is a request to assist in the marketing of the exhibits, the art programs, and the mural projects of $2,500. 40%, because again, it's kind of unknown and what we're looking for. But when you look at the total budget and the cost, they are eligible for the entire $2,500. Any questions on the Gateway Arts Council? I think there was 4 or 5 different shows, plus the murals and different things in that grant. We broke down in there for you. Okay. Oconee History Museum, an app-based historic tour. Leslie is here and can answer any questions if you have that. This is a request of $8,050 to create and promote an app-based historic walking tour of Walhalla. There'll be 25 stops, I believe what I remember reading, on the tour. The total project budget, again, you don't really have this is something new, so you don't really have an impact based on it. So I used the History Museum's impact and their numbers. And got them as much as I could eligible. So they're eligible for $4,322 of what they're asking for. And they are partnering with Main Street Walhalla for this project, working around town. Any questions about?
So the app itself, you said there's about gonna be 20, 25?
There'll be 25 different stops on the app that you would lead yourself, self-guided around the city.
Okay.
Any questions?
Is it the same, or is it company, or is it different than the Centennial? There was like a Centennial app that had like stops? Was that different? Is it different?
Yeah, it's different.
Okay.
Main Street Walhalla has access through the Main Street America program to this app. So it is a different app. It's a little more specifically designed for this.
Any other questions? All right, the next one is Main Street Walhalla. If you're not familiar, Walhalla is part of the Main Street program across the state now. Maybe Embody is the one that works on that on a daily basis. And this request is for $6,170. It's to organize and implement a series of 9 events in December, labeled Walhalla Wonderland. It's an effort to bring folks into Walhalla during that season. You can see the total budget there and the amount of impact being unknown because it's new. I use 40% again. And so they are eligible for what they're asking for that $6,170. And those events, I believe, were in that grant. There was 9 different things, from a historic walking tour to visits with Santa. I mean, there was a bunch of different things in there. Any questions on Main Street Walhalla's request? All right, and the last one is the Foothills Farmstead. This is for wiring for the main farmhouse. You can see the total project budget and grants they've received. Again, I use 40% based on historical data, and they are eligible for the $2,800 to work on the wiring for that main farmhouse.
So just because, they're not open yet, correct? So they're still in the process of,
I don't know if I think they're inviting people to come out.
okay,
Yeah, I've seen where they do. I don't know what there is specifically to say, other than maybe the process,
Yeah,
of
so they're-
right.
the
They're
reconstruction.
inviting folks to see the process come through, but I know they're in the process of rebuilding the house.
okay.
And then there's a couple other buildings that are in process of being moved.
Phil, not specific to any one of these, but I know we've got a couple of events. Can you just kind of re-clarify if those events are not able to take place because of COVID or whatever?
Yes.
How does that allocation that we approve, how is that handled at that point in time?
So what we did last year is if you approved something and the event got canceled, we gave them a couple of options. They could return the money, or they could keep the money, write us a letter that it was canceled and the rescheduled date, and they would use that money for the rescheduled date.
Okay.
So they did have the option to return it and reapply, or to keep it for the rescheduled date. Now, if they didn't reschedule and it was completely canceled, you would have returned the money.
Gotcha.
Anybody that was rescheduling anything, we gave them the option to give us a letter to go in the grant folder to move it to the rescheduled date. And we would do the same thing if something happens this year. And
Gotcha.
so that is your 10 grants for the cycle. Again, you have $77,000 in eligible requests, and you have $50,000 to play with. Next week when we meet, we'll basically take that sheet there and put it up on the screen like we normally do and start working our way through, narrowing that down to $50,000. So, any other questions on the grants? Some really good requests. So, and I was sharing before we got started, because of the increase in ATAX funds that we've had come in the county, typically we would give out $60,000 a year in grants. This year, with 50 last cycle and 50 this cycle, we're giving out $100,000 in grant funding. So we've seen a nice increase in what we're able to offer to external grants because of the success of the local accommodations taxes. If there's no other questions, I'll move on to my internal request. As we went through the budget process, there's a number of things that, as you saw in the treasury report, we're starting to pull out of local aid tax because we've got the money and funds to do so. So today we've got 6 more of those items that for you to see and to consider and send on to council. The first one is park programming. Behind your grants, you have a sheet that labels our programming schedule for the year, as well as the cost of all those amenities that go along with those programs. And so, by having the success we've had, we've been able to really start amping up the amount of programs we do, the wildlife stuff. We're starting an archery program. And so it's been a really good addition to what our staff can offer throughout our county park system. But if you can look down through that schedule for the whole year, and you can see that we're not only in our county parks, we lead ranger-led hikes across different waterfalls and different things in partnership with the Forest Service. So it's been a really successful year in terms of programs for us. So this is a request to use up to $20,000, and this will be throughout the year as programs come up for programs over the next calendar year.
Phil, I'd like to kind of maybe vote on these, each one as we go, if that's
Yes,
okay with you, to
sure.
keep it
We
from
can do each one as
backing
well.
up.
Okay.
All right, any questions or discussions on the first one here? If not, do we have a motion to approve up to $20,000 for the park programming?
I'll make the motion. He's second.
Second.
Motion and second. All right, motion and second, all in favor?
Thank you. I have one fishing tournament for you. We did most of them back in November, but this one came in a little later for the request. And I didn't change February 2021. It should be March 22. March 19th, 2022. This is our VFL Major League Fishing Series that comes through. 200 boats expected. We had 199 last year and 189 the year before. So they always get up close to that 200 boat number. The economic impact is about $140,000. It's an easy sell. It costs us $2,000 to bring them in here. And those guys come in and fish the lake and kind of leave some money in the area. So this is a $2,000 request for this Major League Fishing VFL tournament in March of 22.
Any questions? If not, I'd like to move that we approve $2,000 for the BFL fishing tournament.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
The next one's not ready for you yet. If I don't have it by next Thursday, I'll push it to the November meeting. I'm still waiting on a quote to come in. We built the new building in High Falls, and we're gonna add some ADA parking out front of the building, but I don't quite have that quote ready for us. So we'll look at that one again next week or in November when I get it ready. The next one is PRT project request for asphalt seal coating. A couple months ago, we approved for High Falls Park. We were able to go in and reseal all the parking areas as well as the boat ramp parking area and restripe everything. This is a request now to do South Cove's 4 parking areas, just to help expand the life of our resources down the road. It's not cheap to do this, but again, a lot of the things that you see us doing now were on our deferred maintenance plan because we didn't have the funds to do it before. And so I'm really excited to be able to take care of some of our assets as we move forward. So this is a request for $21,025. It'll have to go out to bid, but this is our quote we got to do to get the money approved for the 4 areas at South Cove Park.
All right, any questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion. We have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
This is the last building at South Cove that would need attention right in this current time. If you've been to South Cove recently, you know that we have a new office out there that's less than 5 years old. We've refurbished the restroom. We built a new maintenance area. The recreation building is kind of the last one that looks like it did before we started all of our work. And so this is a request over the course of October 1st to June 1st to utilize $75,000. We're going to do the majority of this work in-house. So we've met with our facilities crew, and we're going to put new windows in it, new insulation. Right now, it's just plywood board that raises up and down. We're gonna give it a facelift. We're gonna add HVAC to it. We're gonna put windows in it that you can still slide open and create an open air effect there on the water. But it'll give it a nice upgrade, new wiring, new lighting, and rebuild the back deck. So we feel like we can do that for that number, $75,000. And so that will come out again between now and June, will be that request during this calendar year, as our facilities guys have a chance to work on that building. And we'll also do new siding. I didn't put that on there. It'll match the theme of everything else in the park. So we'll change it over from that old T80 siding to the new hardy board that we've done on everything else.
Any discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 75,000 South Cove Recreation Building upgrades.
Second? Pick one. All in favor? Aye.
The last one I have for you today, y'all are all familiar with the brown wayfinding signs we have throughout the county. We have some additions to add to that, which is a good thing. The Blue Ridge Arts Center in Seneca is gonna need some additional signing. When we did this project originally, they had some signage that was up, it was just old. We want to replace that and bring it up to standard with everything else for the brown signs. So I think there's actually 6 signs for them, because of their location. Walnut Street and South Second, 59 and South Second, and then North First. So there's about 6 signs for them, and then there's 2, Chattooga River Visitor Center. We're actually partnering with Trey Barnett here on the committee and creating a visitor center in that space there at Home Pie. And so we'll be able to provide some information. We went through the Forest Service, took them up there last week, and got them on board to agree to call it the Chattooga River Visitor Center. Because they have some information there at the Stump House Station, but it's a long way over to 76 if you're coming in from Georgia. So we'll do some interpretive stuff there, but this is also for 2 brown signs there. So this is a total of 8 wayfinding signs, and I anticipate them being right at $7,500. I will have to get quotes on those, but based on signs I've bought in the last 2 years, that's what I feel like it will cost us.
Any discussion or a motion?
Just a quick question. So like, with wayfinding signs, how do you determine like not only who, but also like how many signs a designated entity receives in order to draw
The
traffic?
state will allow you to take it from the main road to the destination. You got primary and secondary roads that the DOT labels. And so, like the Blue Ridge Arts Center, you've got 3 main roads around it, so we can pull all from there. The Chattooga Visitor Center is on 76, so it's just one road. But it's typically by destination. And then we can only sign public entities and nonprofit stuff, like the Blue Ridge Arts Center. I couldn't sign a private business. So when we were doing our wayfinding sign program, if I wanted to sign, I'll just use like Chattooga Bell, for example. I couldn't sign that because that's a private business. They have to go through the state's TODS program and get a blue sign instead of a brown sign.
Yeah.
A lot of logistical stuff in there.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve 7,500 to the wayfinding signage for Blue Ridge Arts and Chattooga River Visitor Center.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Some project updates for you. Seneca Creek Boat Ramp, I am days away from bidding this thing out. We meet with Clemson this coming week to finalize some little specifics like security cameras, utility hookups, things like that. Our engineers are preparing the bid documents as we speak. We did receive our DX certification since our last meeting, so I anticipate, and they're telling me that we could break ground by the end of the year, so that's what I'm hoping for. And that's about a $2 million project. We're doing it in 2 phases. So I anticipate about $1.2 million, $1.3 million on the first phase, and then the remaining for the second phase. But that'll be a huge improvement to that location there at Seneca Creek. Shaw Ram, if you're familiar with Shaw Ram, Shelter 1, right?
I don't know where you go.
The boardwalk.
Shelter one.
Shelter 1 had an asphalt boardwalk that was run through a bunch of roots and trees. And
Treacherous.
you guys gave a grant last meeting to help us build a boardwalk. So if you get a chance, go out there. It's probably about 100 foot, 120 foot boardwalk that will connect you from the sidewalk now down to that shelter. And we did a little deck off of there, a little viewing deck platform for the falls. So it's really nice. If you get a chance, go take a look at it. But that is complete. The courtesy docks at High Falls and South Cove, you also helped us get some money for that. The pavers that go on top of those docks are on back order. And so the docks are done. I'm just waiting on the pavers to come and fit in the grid system. And we'll hopefully have those up really, really soon. If you follow council at all, you'll notice that this past week, council voted for us to add an additional dump station, RV dump station at South Cove. We were able to utilize ATAX money for that as well. That's about a $190,000 project. I think I've got that on your treasurer's report. And so camping is up 80+% over the last 5 years, and our infrastructure is really struggling to keep up. And so we have a huge long line on Sunday morning of campers trying to check out. So this will give us a big boost. We hope to break ground on that soon. That's already been bid, it's already been awarded, and should have a pre-construction meeting soon. The mural project, I shared with you, Westminster has all the murals, Seneca's got a bunch of murals, Walhalla's got a bunch of murals. The Arts and Historical Commission worked on a promotion project, and I'll just show you what this looks like. We're gonna give these to all the artists that did the paintings and let them figure out the best place to put this on all those spots. Each QR code is specific to each mural. We created on Visit Oconee's website a mural section, and this one is the planes, trains, and automobiles in Seneca with Fred Edgerton. So if you take a picture with this QR code, it takes you straight to the picture of that mural and all the information about that artist and that mural. So we've got 20 murals that are on this program. You'll see those starting to go up soon. And as murals, they're putting together their criteria for things to be considered for that. So as we get additional requests, that list will grow. And so we've seen a bunch of murals in the last 4 or 5 years. And it's really probably 4 artists that are really doing the most of it. I just wanted to share that with you, that you'll see those going up soon. Any questions about anything going on? Any project stuff that you're aware of? Any questions about PRT in particular?
How did or is it next summer you're taking over the, which is it Friendship?
So we started that this past year.
Yeah.
We started it April 1st, I believe. It's going well. We basically added it to our rotation. We've got a 2-man crew that runs those 10 boat ramps, those trash, grass, restrooms. It gets very well used during the summer. And then across the street, the boat ramp is a big addition as well. But it's going well. Yep. If no other questions, we'll reconvene here next Thursday at noon to vote on these grants. If you have any questions on particular grants from now and then, email them to me. I will get with the applicant to make sure we get an answer and get out to everybody. And then we've got the one more meeting in November. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Just a question about the National Hunting and Fishing Day. How many participants are you looking to have?
So National Hunting and Fishing Day is typically the last Saturday in September. That's a program that we partner with a number of different agencies on them, Trout Unlimited, Fish and Wildlife, DNR. We usually have 20 to 25 vendors that come and set up, and you can see, you can learn how to fly fish. We usually set up a designated area in the lake, and they stock it with catfish and do fishing for the day. But last year was canceled. We're bringing it back this year, and they've been having their their monthly meetings leading up to the event. But I anticipate 20, 25 vendors, so I have some food vendors as well. So,
What's the process for those who want to secure a spot for that?
I don't think there is one.
There is? Up to you.
Yep. Yeah, I can put them in touch with, my park manager at South Cove is heading that up,
Okay,
so I can put you in touch with that person.
great.
Yeah, anybody wants to be a vendor, send them my way.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you everyone for your time and attendance today. Look forward to seeing each of you hopefully next week at this same time. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, we are out of here.
Done.
Thank you.
You officially retired now?
Right.
Loving it?
So far, so good.
Good for you.
Yeah, my last day was officially July the 8th.
So how's everything going with
I'll get there in 30 years.
Yeah, by the front desk, so if I'm not there, just
We've got about 25 members, 20 members
Or you want me to?
now.
Be good.
Scott,
Otherwise, my wife would get a passenger seat in my truck.
everybody that's
But I just hate to do it all over again.
I think we got that out there.
I'm gonna keep this
Earlier
one
this year, so hopefully that's a good thing.
that way. Hey, Dave.
started out.
Hey, Ben. I thought I recognized you.
Yeah.
So this way, we're a lot of
People have been doing.
Everybody's good. Girls are freshmen and juniors.